We are today at London Heathrow Airport. This is runway 09 left. The plan for today is to take off from 09 left, climb to 2,500 feet, make a right turn, 180 degrees turn towards the west, and come back, turn again towards east, 90 degrees, and come back for landing again on 09 left. We will do an ILS landing, and we will switch to manual when we are down to 500 feet and land the aircraft manually. This is a 737-900, and we can begin by setting up the FMC. Because we will not be following any standard departure procedure, we will not set up any routes in the FMC. We do need to get reference speeds at least though for takeoff. Airport, we are London Heathrow, so EG at L, India Golf, Lima Lima, reference airport. We can copy it here, we need it in a moment. Origin, London Heathrow, runway 09 left. We don't need to set up a destination because we don't do routing. We can move to the performance. Gross weight, this will normally come from our flight plan. Depends on the cargo, the amount of passengers, fuel. In explain we can just click here and it will fill for us the current gross weight. Planned fuel is the amount of fuel that according to our flight plan we should be using. It's irrelevant for us for this short loop of the airport. We need to set up something though. Reserves is the amount of fuel we want to have by the time we land. We can just set it to something. The cost index, it's a number, it's a ratio between fuel price and the cost of keeping the aircraft in the air. It's given us normally from our airline, and it allows the FMC to optimize the cost of climbs and descents mainly. We will set it to 500. 500 is the maximum for the 737-900 that we're flying today. So we get maximum performance, and we can move on to the next screen to the N1 limit. Outside air temperature is today 15 Celsius. London Heathrow. We set it /15 Celsius, and we can move to the takeoff screen. We will take off with 5 degrees of flaps. We will at this point also set the flaps. We can see here the current flaps configuration. We want 5 degrees, and flaps are extending. We can go back to the FMC. Meanwhile, we can now let the FMC calculate the center of gravity, which will give us also the trim we need, which is 4.49. We go down here and we check about 4.5, maybe a notch down, about there. So 449. Now the FMC has calculated speeds for us. V1 124, we accept it. V1 is the decision speed. It's the speed above which we do not abort takeoff, whatever happens. If we would abort takeoff past V1, we would overrun the runway. We wouldn't have enough space to stop. VR rotation speed is 125. We accept it. This is the speed at which we start to pull up nose in order to take off. And V2 is 138. This is the minimum speed at which flight can be sustained. So we have a successful takeoff after V2. That's about it. We don't need to set any route. So we're done with the FMC. Move back here. Next thing, we prepare the autopilot for the first phase of flight after takeoff. So we said the plan is to climb to 2,500 feet. Set it here. And we will maintain initially the runway heading, which is 90, and we want to climb the speed of 200. Right, the autopilot is set. As soon as we take off, we will switch to level change mode, which means the aircraft will climb to the selected altitude, 2,500, and will then switch to speed and altitude hold mode. So it will maintain this speed and this altitude. We will also engage the heading select mode, so the aircraft will stay on the 90 degrees heading. We arm flight director, which is the part of the autopilot that is controlling banking, descents, climbs, so altitude and headings fundamentally. And we arm the auto throttle, which is the one that controls the throttle levers, so it's mainly responsible to control speed. And the flaps 5 degrees, and we are ready for takeoff. Change view so you can see the runway. We disengage the brakes, full throttle, and we go very gingerly on the rudder. We keep the center line with very, very small inputs on the rudder. As the speed builds up,
80 knots.
80 knots.
V1 rotate.
Rotate. No more than 5 degrees. We will strike our tail.
Positive rate.
Positive rate. Gear up. And we engage the autopilot, heading select,
400.
pedal change, and there we are. So we are now climbing,
1,000.
passing 1,000 feet. The autopilot has disengaged the level change mode because we're coming close to 2,500. It changed to altitude old and to speed mode. So it will now maintain a speed of 200 knots and an altitude of 2,500 degrees is heading. We can now initiate our turn, a right turn towards 270. Getting there. Gears up. We don't need flaps anymore. And turning. We can switch. Look at here. We can switch this view. Change this. Approach mode. So we can see from here two things. We can see that we are 5.6 miles from the London VOR. This is the VOR that is in the middle of London Heathrow Airport. And we can also see that we are on a radial 120. Radial 120 of London VOR is an ideal line that extends from the VOR towards 120 degrees north, so southeast of the airport. And we can see this green bar, which is the radial we are on, is moving towards 180, so we will soon pass south of the airport, 80 degrees, so we can know where we are. We can check on the map. So we can see this runway 09 left. We took off towards the east, made a right turn towards 270, and we're now passing radio 150. So out here, this is the VOR. It's radio 150, 150 degrees north, so it's pointing southeast, and we will soon pass radio 180, which is south of here. It's just here. We can accelerate a bit, so things will be a bit faster. Let's accelerate 275. So the plan now is to continue downwind, and somewhere out here make another right turn, come back for landing. We will not turn directly to 90 degrees, we will turn to a heading of 60 degrees, so we will fly in this direction, so we cross the ILS with a 30 degrees angle. As we come closer to intercepting the ILS, we will switch the autopilot in localizer mode first, so it will decide when is the good moment to start the turn to intercept the ILS, so we will avoid overshooting because we start to turn manually too late. And once we are somewhere here, we are established laterally on the ILS, we will then switch to approach mode, and at some point we will be here about 7.5 miles out of London. We will cross the glide slope, and because we will be in approach mode, and the plane will start to descend. The glide slope is this ideal line that starts from the runway hedge and comes up with a slope of 3 degrees, and that's the line we want to follow to land. We are now somewhere there. You can see we're about 8 miles, so we should still go for a while. We can begin to slow down. It will take some time to slow down. We want to land about 160 knots, so we need to start to slow down. We're now 10.6 miles. We will soon initiate our right turn. We will soon deploy flaps. Flaps cannot be deployed above 250 knots. So we can go up to 5 degrees, 250 knots. So as soon as we come below 250 knots, we will extend now flaps to 5 degrees. So flaps are creating extra drag, which helps to slow down faster. We can see here this red tape. Now because the flaps are extended to 5 degrees, this red tape is indicating that this is the maximum speed, 250 we can fly at. We're now 13 miles out. We can start a right turn towards 60 degrees, so we will intercept our ILS with a 30 degrees angle. So remember the runway heading is 90, so we will fly 60 degrees. We will intercept the ILS. We need to be careful now. This is not India Alpha Alpha, this is India Romeo Romeo, course 270. This is actually the ILS for runway 27 right. So at the moment we cannot switch in to localizer mode. If we did that, the aircraft would backtrack and fly out on the runway on a course of 270 degrees. At some point during the turn we will enter again the cone of India Alpha Alpha now. So now we can switch to approach mode. We can still wait a while, so we ensure that we don't exit again the cone, but when we are well inside the cone of the ILS we can then switch to localizer mode. 15 miles, runway heading at, and switch to localizer mode now. We will slightly overshoot probably because I switched it a bit too late, but the autopilot will take care of that for us. You can see now we have slightly overshoot because this needle has moved to the right, it was on the left. The autopilot will now keep a heading slightly to the right of 90 until it finds again the radio, and it will then start to turn again. It's 90, establish the radio. If we look at the approach chart for runway 09 left, the final approach point is 7.5 miles India Alpha Alpha. So when we reach 7.5 miles, we will cross the glide slope, this ideal line, but we want to follow the 3 degrees slope towards the runway. This diamond will have moved somewhere here, and if we switch now approach mode, when we cross the glide slope, the aircraft will disengage the altitude hold mode and will start to follow the glide slope down the runway. The diamond is now solid. Before it was just the perimeter, it was empty, so it means we quote the ILS signal, the vertical component ILS signal. You can see the diamond is moving down and we are approaching the 7.5 miles distance from the runway. We can further slow down 160 and we go to 10 degrees flaps, which will help us also. We now cross the glide slope. Altitude hold has been disengaged and we are now in glide slope mode. So the aircraft is now descending with 3 degrees slope, which will bring us sharp to the edge of the runway. For touchdown, 6.4 miles to touchdown. We can start to prepare for landing. Landing gear down, flaps 10 degrees set. We set auto brakes. So auto brakes are now armed, means as soon as we touch down, the brakes will engage. We have to do it manually. And once we are close, about 10 feet from the runway, we will flare. So we pull the nose up and we cut the throttle. As soon as we touch down, the brakes will engage automatically and we will deploy the spoilers manually. That's the plan. We're now at 1,200 feet. I will disengage the autopilot at 500 and fly the plane manually to touch down from there.
1,000.
Just past 1,000 feet. Just check. Landing gear down, 3 green lights locked, 10 degrees flaps, auto brakes engaged. Change the view, see the runway, and we're ready to land. So we'll disengage the autopilot 500 feet and fly from there. Cut controls. 400. Very small changes from here. Can't make any sudden movements. Very steady, slightly low. So right. 100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10. Flare. Cut throttle. Brakes engaged. Deploy spoilers. Slowing down. Bit of rudder center line.
Eighty knots.
And we're back to London Heathrow, runway 09 left.
We'll be taxiing for the next few minutes, so please remain seated with your seatbelt fastened and all